So one of the scary things about being in these markets during times like now is that if you stay bearish for too long, the lagging indicators, which as we know is basically every indicator, will start to reflect that, and they're going to start to paint some really bearish things on the chart. And one of the most reliable lagging indicators that we have available to us are simple moving averages, just normal moving averages. And we've got a few which are really, really important, some which are actually quite critical in the market. And this one that I want to highlight for you guys is especially concerning here. I've actually got it drawn out for you guys here on this chart. If you take a look at this, where you can see the 50-day moving average, and I believe this is the 200. Let me just double check this actually, just so that I'm not talking shit. Yeah, 50 and 200. And you can see that we're literally, just with this kind of projection, we're literally about to get the death cross here within the next 5 or so days, which is absolutely crazy here. And this is really interesting because, for example, here we got the golden cross up here, and it did result in an additional 36% to the upside from the moment we got the golden cross to the high. But now with this death cross, we could be looking at some disaster looming overhead for Bitcoin. And the reason that these kind of things are typically taken quite seriously by traders in the market, and by extension, you could argue that there's some sort of self-fulfilling prophecy here, is because these are just generally really good indications of what's going on in the market, where you actually remove your bias. Because with the chart, with the candles and stuff like that, you can make all sorts of arguments about what's going on. But if I actually go ahead and do something which is quite scary, and if I actually just go ahead and actually just remove the candles altogether, now we've got basically a no bullshit display of the chart here with this 50-day moving average, this red line, and this orange line is just an even longer term version of the same line here. And really what this is showing us is where momentum is. Okay, this is showing us that our short-term price action is now becoming more bearish than our long-term price action. It's just momentum is shifting to the downside here. That is more or less what these things show us in the market here. And we've seen this happen many times before. So it's actually possible for us to dive into what the result of this might actually be. So, this can present a lot of opportunities. I do have to warn you that we are literally only how many dollars away? $600-700 away from, just entering this catastrophic kind of area in the market where, this death cross is almost a certainty now anyway. And I want to show you how this is acted on the market before. Before I do get to that though, I want to highlight to you the amazing opportunities in this market. Whether we go up, whether we go down, I'm still trading this market. I'm still going to be interested in taking advantage of it. BingX is offering you an exchange with no KYC and over $100,000 in bonuses. But the really cool thing about BingX is just the markets that you can trade on it, right? I mean, you've got all of traditional finance, really. Again, I can't show it to you right now, but you've got Tesla, Apple, stocks and stuff like that. Indices, super cool offer there. There's actually a trade that I want to make on the S&P 500 very soon, and I think the details of that are about to be shared inside of VIP as well. Also something that you can join by following the links in the description down below right here. Bybit, also the top exchange in the space, up to 30K in bonuses. That's straight cash that they're giving you. I'm actually going to be at their event in Singapore next week, so those of you that are in Singapore, hit me up. Super happy to meet. But if we do bring it back to the chart here and talk about what we could be looking at, well, let's look at how this has gone for Bitcoin in the past. Okay, if we look at this situation for Bitcoin throughout its history, here are the last two death crosses we got. Okay, a death cross is when that short-term moving average goes below the longer-term one. This most recent one that we had here was January of 2022, and that actually ended up taking the price down by 65%. We got this death cross when Bitcoin was at about, I don't know, what is this, like $40,000 roughly, and then the price just tumbled lower and lower and lower and lower until we eventually, fully bottomed out down at about $15,000, as we all know very well. We're all quite familiar with that price action. That was a minus 65% drop. The one before it, a lot less scary. That was only a 22% drop, and more importantly, it only lasted 33 days. You can see this one actually lasted nearly a year, which is fucking crazy. Basically like 11 months nearly, that we were bearish when we got this death cross here. And the reason that this is significant is because if you do look back at the previous death crosses, now there are definitely going to be some exceptions where, we get a death cross and then nothing really happens and the market continues going up. But most of the time, when Bitcoin gets a death cross, especially in bearish environments, it does indicate some downside is going to be coming. So I want to show you another example of that back here. If we move it all the way back to 2019, we had another death cross here of 25% and another death cross here of 65%. So we're starting to actually notice that there's some consistent numbers here. We're either getting roughly the mid-20s or roughly 65%. That's what we've seen the past few times that we've gotten a death cross here. I did not include the COVID death cross. There was just too much volatility here. This wasn't particularly real price action anyway, so I'm only focusing on the more normal stuff. This was a black swan. This was, just not really anything that you can really trade based off. So we're just ignoring it. It's an anomaly, so I'm not going to count the anomaly. But, 25% here, 66% here. There is definitely some consistency going on right here. And if we actually take a look at what this could mean for Bitcoin, well, just a 20% move down, not that bad. It does put us down to about $20,000. If we go a little bit lower than that, we're still hanging out in areas that really just aren't that scary, 19, 18K or whatever. It's not going to be that bad. But what it would mean if we come back to the main chart is that we are going to drop below this critical area, which of course, as we know very well, is our rock solid $25,000 support. And that's what would be bad. You see, dropping down to $20,000, you know me, I'm just not going to be that worried. I'm typically not worried anyway, but it's a good place. There's a lot of support historically back from 2020, back from 2017. We know that this is an important price area. So, unless you just want to be in the camp of idiots that loses their mind over every little $10 price action, that happens in Bitcoin, if you want to be like me and really the rest of the traders following this YouTube channel, then, you're not going to worry about a $20,000 Bitcoin. But what is concerning is obviously just losing where we are right now, because we do have this really good area of support right along here at the 25K area. And if we did lose it, it's the same thing that we're already facing, guys, right? Remember back here, right? We were actually able to use this area as support. When the price went up above this line, it came back down and captured support, captured support, captured support. Over here, even captured support. But then when you get below these levels, it starts acting as resistance, 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 fake out resistance, and then back down. So we did the same thing over here with this wick, and that's the same thing that's going to happen to Bitcoin if we fall below 25K. If we come down here, if we manage to rise back up, if we end up doing something a little bit like this, we could definitely find another rejection. And that is where this stuff becomes a lot more concerning. You see, we had the same thing happen here on a shorter term time frame, but if we start losing our areas of support, that's the same issue that we're going to encounter again. And that could actually be what basically signs Bitcoin's death sentence again, which would be definitely quite concerning here. So the 20% drop, in and of itself, 20K, not a bad level, honestly, if we're going to let this bear market play out. Is it the worst thing in the world if Bitcoin did something a little bit like this for the next, whatever? No, it's honestly not that bad. It's really not as bad as most people think. And, that's something important that I want to highlight to you guys, is that that's how these markets are. It's never as bad as people want it to be, and it's certainly never as good as people want it to be either. And if it feels like that, if it feels like nobody's getting what they want, then that's probably, the most likely, the most reasonable explanation, at least in my experience from everything that I've seen in these markets over the last 6 years, where I've actually aged like 50 fucking years because I've been trading crypto for 6 years. That's basically, what I'm seeing here. So, 20K in and of itself, not too concerning, but losing the 25K area, it just puts us in a deeper uphill battle. But that's the conservative drop. If we get the more aggressive drop, if we get the really heinous drop here in this price action, then that puts us down by 65%. And that's where, we start getting down to these really bear porn levels. This is where the bears are just getting their bear fleshlight out and they're going at it. They've got their lotion out. They're just really in it, ready to have the best time of their life. When they look at this chart, this 65% drop would put us down to a 4-digit Bitcoin. Again, I've been very vocal since the beginning. I don't see it happening. It certainly could. That would be a hell of a cleanse for the market. Very, very healthy for the market, but that is so far away, that I don't know. I just think it's too early to speculate on that kind of thing. But if it did end up happening, what's interesting with these numbers is that it does line up with important price levels. The $9,000 to $10,000 area is a really important price level for Bitcoin. It's a key level that honestly a lot of people have been calling for. And again, this is my point: is that if everyone's, if nobody is getting what they want, if remember when we bottomed out at 15.6, right? Like fucking nobody knew we were gonna bottom out at 15.6. I know there was probably some weird one fucking basement dweller, that just put out some random 15K prediction and he ended up being correct. But nobody had any reason to expect Bitcoin to bottom out at $15,600, right? I expected 20K, I expected 18K, maybe 17, not 15.6. If we fell below 17, I'm probably expecting 12K. I'm expecting 10 or 14 or something like that. not 15.6. And that's the point that I'm trying to make here, is that like this level actually lines up with a lot of analysis that people are putting out, even analysis that I've put out on this channel, you know, because obviously I don't think it's going to happen, but I'm still going to explore the possibilities, otherwise I'd be a fool. And you know, I was talking about this as well, and this is kind of my point. It's almost too perfect. I don't know if it's actually going to happen, but if you are on the side of thinking that Bitcoin needs to drop by a lot more to really cleanse out and all that stuff, then a 65% drop is very much in line with what you would probably be hoping for, and it does put us down to some very interesting price levels as well. Again, for me, all of that stuff is a little bit too far to talk about. I really don't even think it's particularly realistic, but again, for me, the main concern is just going to be this low. You know, if we bring it back to the current chart right here and we just look at what we are actually dealing with here, you know, I mean, if Bitcoin sweeps below any of these wicks now, especially because it's already tested the high up here, you know, I think it is quite likely to have a bigger drop down now, you know, something that's, you know, $1,000-$2,000 down if it drops. You know, I mean, we're still at support. Let's keep that in mind. I mean, let's not stop being realistic about the fact that we are still at rock solid support here. It could fail. We've been testing it for a while, and we're definitely showing the kind of you know, signs that this market is about to roll over and collapse again. So, you know, that's definitely still there. You know, but if we do drop below really any of these wicks that are at about, you know, 25,300, for example, 25,400, you know, that's where, you know, we could be looking at just triggering another, you know, big sell-off. It's actually really interesting. Like, I think it was Cardano or Solana. It was one of the two. I always get them mixed up. It was Solana. They had some big news with like Visa, you know, like merging with them or something for like, you know, I don't even know. It's some bullshit. There's always something going on, you know, and it always sounds promising and then nothing ever happens. So, you know, like that's why I'm not interested in it. I can't tell you how many times I've heard of like some crypto coin collaborating with some major established name in the real traditional finance world, and then everyone's jacking themselves off to the news, and then absolutely nothing happens every single time. So, you know, I'm not even paying any attention to it. But what's interesting is that obviously that is, you know, quite bullish news, and the market didn't reflect that. You know, the market is showing us every sign right now that, I mean, other than the fact that it's at support for Bitcoin specifically, not even for Solana, but, you know, like other than the fact that this market is at support, it is showing us every sign that we are actually kind of getting ready to roll over again. So, you know, I think these are important things to be keeping in mind. It doesn't have to be scary or concerning. You know, the good news is that we've already identified basically all of the areas of support that Bitcoin could fall down to, that Bitcoin could find support at. You know, with these yellow lines here, I've got 22,500. I've got 21,400. These are both really good areas that Bitcoin could find some support at. Even down to like 23.6, honestly, I think is a really solid price area for Bitcoin to capture a little bit of support at. And each of these levels are areas where, you know, people that are on the short side are probably going to be looking to take some profits. You know, to give you a point of reference, just dropping down to there is already a 7.5% move, right? I mean, if you're locked in with 5x leverage, that's already a 35% profit, and that's just to the easy target, right? I mean, if you go down a little bit lower, you're already looking at like, you know, 60% profit nearly, you know, with these kind of numbers now, just with a little 5x leverage, right? Which I know that a lot of people are going to be considering. So definitely, you know, not a time where you have to feel like it's impossible to make money or anything like that. And obviously, you guys know the deal. I'm trading these markets on BingX and Bybit primarily Bybit. Obviously, it's been that way for many years. It's probably going to stay that way for many years as well. We'll see what happens. But if you are interested, then go ahead and check them out, because overall you are getting over 200K in bonuses with the links in the description down below. The top two are definitely the most compelling offers, so well worth checking them out. But with that, guys, I really hope you have enjoyed this one. A little bit of a quicker one for you today. Let me know what you thought. Hit up the like, subscribe, tick the bell, do all that good stuff, and I'll see you all in the next one. Cheers.